Hi everybody. So I'm going to talk to you about something fun today, something that is really great as a beginner that you can use to make your work look a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more professional. And that is using a limited palette. Now by limited palette I mean only a few colors of paint. So that's what I've done here on this page. I have chosen three sets of three different colors, and from those three colors I've mixed up 12 different hues. So those three colors there, I mixed 12 different colors on the right. For the wreath, I used those three colors. And then here on the bottom, you can see all those pretty earthy colors I mixed from the Prussian blue, the raw sienna, and the terra ercolano there on the left. Now with these pretty pastel tones, I painted this picture just with those three colors and the shades that you can mix from it. With this palette, I made this painting here using just those three colors and the shades that can be mixed from them. And then same thing here, and you can see what differences you can get in the feeling of a picture. Each set of three shades and the resulting mixtures really have their own personality. They take on their own personality. So I'm going to demonstrate how to mix these colors for you using two different combinations of colors. So the first combination is a rose, and that's going to be like our red color. A yellow ochre, that's our yellow, and cerulean blue, which is our blue color. Now let me just note here that any warm tones, so I'm talking about oranges, browns, reds, pinks, any of those you could substitute for the rose. Yellow, it's good to try to stick with a brightish color just for ease of mixing. And then blues, you can substitute like a violet, any violet or blue shade you could use for the blue primary. So right now I am just putting down my three primary colors, my rose on the top, my yellow ochre in the middle, and my cerulean blue on the bottom. And I'm leaving plenty of room in between because I'm going to be adding about three swatches, no more than that. Yeah, three swatches between each color there. All right, so we've got our three primaries. Now we're going to mix the secondaries. The rose and the yellow we mix to make orange. And just go by sight here. I'm mixing it up on my palette, and I put it right in the middle, leaving space for colors on either side. So I'm mixing my yellow and my blue to make green. And I'm going to mix a little bit more blue in there. That looks nice. There's my green. And then the, let's see, blue and the rose to make purple. And we're going to put the purple at the bottom. So blue and rose. You can get a really pretty purple from this combination. There it is on the bottom. Now we're going to mix our tertiary colors, okay? So tertiary colors are the third level, basically, of colors. We have the primaries, then the secondaries, and now the tertiaries. So we mix the rose, which is our red, with some of the orange to find the shade between them. And that's pretty. Then we mix the orange with the yellow to get our next shade. And let me tell you here about this paint that I'm using. There we go. Now we mix the yellow with the green to get a yellow green. So what I've done on these paints here is I've just squeezed some tube paints onto a piece of paper and let it dry. And that's what I'm using here for paint. So now we mix our blue-green right in between the blue and the green. And now we're going to mix our blue-violet. Add some blue to the violet. And that will make a really, really nice kind of ultramarine blue. And our last shade is a red-violet. And we're going to put that at the top above our red. And so you mix a little bit of red into your purple. There we go. Okay, so this is the fun part. This is where we're going to paint a little bouquet using the 12 shades that we've mixed, and also a couple neutrals, which I sometimes call ugly colors. Ugly colors are neutrals, and they also can really elevate a picture. So I'm just going to start with this purple flower, and I think it's going to be an anemone because those are blooming at this time of year. We're in early March. And so I just sort of wiggle my brush around to make the bloom of the flower. And now I'm mixing more blue into my purple to get another shade of purple, purpley blue here. And this one I'm going to tuck underneath that first one so that you get sort of a 3/4 view of it. I'm mixing even more blue into my purple now, and I'm going to do a little bloom that's somewhat foreshortened in our line of sight, sticking out of the top of this little bundle. So that's the 3/4 view of my bloom there. All right, now I'm going to mix up a green and put a stem on this little bloom that's sticking up. Anemones have these really interesting kind of tube-like hollow stems that are pretty substantial. So that's my stem, and then their foliage is real frilly. That's the best way I can think to describe it, is frilly. And I'm mixing various greens, adding either more or less blue or yellow to what I've got there on my palette, and just putting some of this frilly greenery around my blooms. So as I talked about in one of my previous videos, you're striving for balance here. And so that's how I'm approaching where to put this greenery on the anemones. I'm just trying to present a balanced view, and my eye is kind of telling me where I need to put this greenery to balance it out. So another advantage in using a limited color palette for a beginner is that it really takes the color choices difficulty out of the painting equation. So for those of you who are totally new to art, it just helps to eliminate some of those decisions that you have to make while you're painting. So it gives you the freedom to really focus on other things like composition. shape and line and value, which are all just as important as color, and just as challenging. So now I've mixed a neutral color, an ugly color, and a great way to mix an ugly color is by just sort of cleaning your palette with your brush, mixing all the colors that are on your palette together. And that's what I did here. I mixed a dark rose, blue, and yellow to get that really dark, almost black color. Now I'm going to add a few little buds, try to vary the size of my blooms, the shape of my blooms. And I'm using this brighter, pure rose color for these little sprigs that are sticking out of our bundle. And with my neutral, I'm just lightly adding some stems. They don't all connect. You know, your eye fills in what your brush leaves out. So there's my little sprigs. And I think I want some warm colors in here now. So I'm going to mix up like a yellowy orange here and add a few more flowers of a different type. So for my warm flowers, I'm going to do like a cone flower shape, like an echinacea or a black-eyed Susan. It's got that thick center in the middle, which is sometimes black, sometimes orange, and then the little petals that come down from there. And I love these kinds of flowers because they can sort of drape in any direction, and it's a nice way to be able to fill out your painting. So with a darker orange pink, I'm painting my petals just around from the center of my little cone flowers. And sometimes on my petals I like to leave a little highlight of the white paper underneath. So I just don't paint in the whole petal. I just leave a little line of white visible. And so you can see I had to take a break. Somebody needed attention. I'm adding more petals to my top two blooms there. And just sort of filling in as I go. And on this lower flower, I think I'm going to need to add a couple more petals. Fill it out a bit. Give it another point of view and make it a little distinct from the other buds up there. Okay, so now I want to add some greenery, some stems to these, maybe a couple of these, and then some of the tall yellow greenish leaves that are on the cone flowers. So I'm mixing up a yellow green here, and I'm adding it to just kind of the side of my flowers, wherever it seems like the picture needs something. Yeah, and I think I'll put a couple more down here to give it that balance. I think I'm almost there. So now I need something really dark, I feel like, and I'm gonna try to incorporate a new shape that I haven't used yet. So I'm gonna mix a really dark violet here and just add some little berries to the places where it looks like it needs something. So I'm mixing a real dark violet with some rose and blue, and then I'm just going to paint some small berries in these empty spots. And it's always good to paint an odd number of something. You can see I've done 3 anemones, 3 of the cone flowers, 3 little sets of leaves, 3 little sprigs of pink buds. It's an easy rule of thumb to follow to make your picture look more pleasing. And there's my dark buds, and then I'm gonna mix up a green to put a few little stems on them. And then I think I will be finished. I like how that turned out. Okay, thank you for joining me. Let's go live to paint another day.